Twerski on Machzor, Rosh Hashanah. Musaf, the Chazan's repetition, the authority of the sages. Based on the tradition of our wise and discerning teachers, and the teaching derived from the knowledge of the discerning, I open my mouth in prayer and supplications to beseech and beg favor before the King, who reigns over kings and the Master of masters. Earlier, we cited justification for listing additional praise of Hashem and not being subject to Rav Chanina's chastisement. Have you exhausted all the praises of your master? One more justification is the principle stated by Rashi, Genesis 7:1, that in the imminent presence of another, one does not say all that person's praises. The Chazan says he will beg favor, Pnei Melech Melchei HaMelech Achim, in the immediate presence of Hashem. Therefore, he may list only partial praises. As was noted earlier, our practice, following the opinion of Rema, is to include piyutim in the Amidah. And the Chazan declares that we do so by virtue of the authority of our wise and discerning Torah scholars. This assures the congregation that these additions are in full accord with the Torah theology. Liturgical poems, established from yore. As noted earlier, Rosh Hashanah commemorates not the first day of creation, but rather the sixth day, the day Adam was created. The Payut refers to Adam, who was given a single prohibition by Hashem, and, within hours, transgressed it, although it appears that Hashem told him that he would die on the day he ate the forbidden fruit. The Targum Yonasan ben Uziel translates the words, "On the day you eat of it, you will deserve death," Genesis 2:17. Therefore, Hashem commuted Adam's sentence, punished him by banishing him from the garden in Eden, and inflicted upon him a life of suffering. The day on which Hashem was merciful to Adam is the day on which all humanity is judged, and we invoke the mercy shown to Adam in our favor. The sin of Adam has far-reaching consequences, not in that we are tainted with his sin, but that we unwisely duplicate it in our own lives. Adam's sin has a long-lasting influence, not so much because we are still punished for it, but because we have apparently not learned from it, and we continue to repeat it. What was Adam's sin? Hashem told him that the fruit of the tree of knowledge is forbidden, and that if he eats it, he will die. What did the serpent say? Don't worry, you won't die. And so Eve saw that the fruit looked delicious. She gave in to the temptation and ate it. She believed the serpent that convinced her that Hashem's words constituted an empty threat. Many people are still like that. Cigarettes cause cancer, but it won't happen to me. People ignore the warning signs about addiction. They don't believe that the disasters can happen to them. The Midrash says that Hashem gave Adam a tour of Gan Eden and said, "I created all of this for you. Take heed that you don't ruin my world, because there will be no one to rectify it." Kohelet Rabbah 9. Yet, because of lucrative development and industrial profits, we pollute the air and water, destroy the rainforests, and wipe out species. Adam was forgiven by the merits of his descendants, the patriarchs and matriarchs. We too invoke their merits in our judgment. The Supreme King. The Ark is opened, and we chant the following Payut. This beautiful liturgical poem, which is often sung by the entire congregation with an upbeat melody, is not only a praise of Hashem, his noble attributes, and his infinite might, but it also contrasts him with earthly monarchs who, despite their lofty status, are mere mortals, ultimately powerless to save themselves. Initially, each verse lauding Hashem was followed by a verse describing the inconsequential status of a human monarch. There is reason to believe that for fear that temporal rulers might take offense, most of the stanzas referring to mortal monarchs were deleted. Only two were retained, and these are recited in an undertone with the ark closed. The inspiration for this poem may have been chapter 14 of Isaiah, wherein the prophet chides Nebuchadnezzar, who said, "I will ascend to the heavens, higher than the stars of God I shall raise my throne. I will ascend over the tops of the clouds. I will liken myself to the Most High." Isaiah 14:13-14. Yet Nebuchadnezzar died an ignominious death, and, in contrast to other kings, was not even afforded a respectable burial. Melech Elyon is at once a beautiful praise of Hashem and an admonishment that people who may have attained positions of prestige and power should not allow their egos to be inflated by virtue of their superior social status. Nesivot Shalom raises the question of what value are the praises of mere mortals to Hashem, who is infinite. He answers that whereas words are the expression of the mind, song is the expression of the heart. This is why Shirah has so important a role in Yiddishkeit. A person sings to his beloved because his heart overflows with emotion. The song is the most effective method of expressing his feelings. This is why Shir Hashirim, Song of Psalms, is considered the holiest of the holiest. Sanhedrin 101a, because it attests to our intense love for Hashem. Similarly, the praises in Melech Elyon express our devekius, our desire to be close to Hashem, and our intense love for Him. Let us now relate the power of this day's holiness. This prayer is one of the most stirring compositions in the entire liturgy of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It is recited before the opened ark. It was composed by Rav Amnon of Mainz, Germany, about 1,000 years ago. This is the story behind it. Rav Amnon of Mainz, Germany, was a confidant of the bishop of that city. As a result of this relationship, during the week before Rosh Hashanah, the bishop exhorted Rav Amnon to convert to Christianity. The bishop was most adamant and would not take no for an answer. In an effort to delay having to give a definitive response, Rav Amnon requested a 3-day grace period in which to weigh his options. His petition was granted. However, when he reached his residence, Rav Amnon was in a frenzy. How could he possibly have sunk to such depths as to allow the bishop to think that he might reject Hashem and his Torah? For 3 days, Rav Amnon immersed himself in prayer and abstained from eating in penance for his misdeed. When the 3 days had passed, he did not appear before the bishop. Angry and annoyed, the bishop had Rav Amnon brought before him and demanded a response. Rav Amnon did not yield before his ultimatum. His only reply was that his tongue should be cut out, since it was the vehicle whereby he had uttered his ill-advised request for time, which implied that he would even contemplate conversion. The bishop was beside himself with rage. Unable to control his wrath, he ordered that Rav Amnon's legs be amputated, since they had not carried him to the bishop after 3 days. Then Rav Amnon's arms were likewise cut off. The bishop repeatedly berated Rav Amnon and demanded, "Are you prepared to convert?" Rav Amnon was steadfast in his refusal, and the bishop sent him home in his mutilated condition. When Rosh Hashanah arrived, Rav Amnon was borne to the shul, where he asked to be placed in front of the ark. Prior to the recitation of Kedusha, he said the Nesaneh Tokef prayer and then expired. Shortly thereafter, Rav Amnon appeared to Rav Clonimus, a great Kabbalist, and requested that his prayer, Unesaneh Tokef, become part of the Rosh Hashanah Musaf liturgy and be recited by Jews everywhere and for all time. Your throne will be firmed with kindness. The psalmist says, "Your throne was firmed from of old." Psalm 93:2. The Hebrew for "from of old" is me'az, and the Midrash compares the word me'az to the first word of the Song of Triumph upon the splitting of the Reed Sea. Exodus 15:1. Az Yashir, the miracle of the splitting of the Reed Sea, is described as a chesed. With your kindness, you guided this people that you redeemed. Ibid 15:13. Hashem's chesed is constant, but it is not always acknowledged. Psalm 52:3. Hence, Hashem's sovereignty is not always appreciated. When the Israelites sang Az Yashir in praise of Hashem's chesed at their deliverance, Hashem's throne was firmed. This leads into the second phrase, "and you will sit upon it in truth." Rav Levi Yitzhak said, "Master of the universe, truth is what is everlasting. If your decrees are with chesed, they will prevail forever. However, if your decrees will be with din, Zadikim may overturn them, as you have given them the ability to do so." Moed Katan 16b. And since they will not endure, they will not be in truth. Who writes and seals? Rav Levi cited the Mishnah, Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanah Shechal B'Shabbat, and translated it literally. It is a good day when Rosh Hashanah occurs on Shabbos, because it is forbidden to write on Shabbos. Rosh Hashanah 4:1. However, in case of pikuach nefesh, to save a life, one may write on Shabbos. Therefore, Hashem will write only favorable decrees for life when Rosh Hashanah occurs on Shabbos. It is indeed a good day. The great shofar will be sounded, and a still, thin sound. The Rebbe of Kodsk asked his student Rav Yechiel Meir of Gostanin to blow the shofar. However, Rav Yechiel could not manage to force only feeble sounds from the shofar. After the davening, Rav Yechiel apologized for his poor performance, but the Rebbe said the verse can also be read Uva shofar, and with a shofar gadol yitaka, a great person will blow, even though there may be only a still, thin sound. Nevertheless, this will cause the angels to tremble. A still, thin sound will be heard. We noted the meaning that Rav Sha'adia, Gaon, and Rambam ascribed to the shofar, namely to arouse a person from lethargy. We may be so preoccupied with the events of daily life that we pay little attention to our spiritual needs. However, the neshama within us cannot be totally subdued. It makes itself heard, if only by a small still sound, telling us that we cannot be derelict in becoming the spiritual beings we were meant to be. It is a still, thin sound, but one that we cannot silence. Angels will hasten. Why will the angels hasten? The Talmud says that when a person performs a mitzvah, a benevolent angel is created. Ethics of Our Fathers 4:13. The angel resulting from the mitzvah has the characteristics of the mitzvah. If the mitzvah was performed appropriately with the proper kavanah, the angel is handsome and well-formed. If the mitzvah was not done properly, the angel is deformed. Many mitzvot are done in haste and with inadequate kavanah. When the angels resulting from these mitzvot pass before the heavenly tribunal, they do not want their defects to be noticed, so they hasten past.